Hey, welcome back to my channel. I am Lachey. If this is your first time visiting, welcome. If this is not your first time visiting, welcome back. And guess what? If you have not already subscribed, why haven't you? And all the greatness that I've been sharing, you probably want to make sure you turn on your notifications and encourage a girl and make sure you like and leave me a comment and let me know what other kind of content you want to hear from me. So, today, I am doing a wellness check in and I am trying something different because I'm still learning how to use all of the technology. So, if you've been following me, that I've been on a wellness journey for a couple of weeks where I've been focusing on my health, my finances, and my relationships. And one of the things that I wanted to do today was kind of share some of the resources that I actually am, sorry, I'm recording, that I'm actually using to help along the way with my actual journey. So this is not going to be long. This is just me checking in. This is just me sharing, keeping myself accountable, and encouraging you to encourage me as I'm going along this journey. Because I do believe that we are better together in community. And what that means is I need you to engage with me. So if you're watching, which I see that people are watching, they're looking at the shorts, they are watching, leave me a comment, encourage me. Tell me what other kind of content would you like to hear from me. I am trying to do a variations of sit downs where you're getting to know me. I just share a podcast. So yes, this is just me coming, talking to you with my update. So let's start here. So on my finances, excuse me, or with my finances, what I typically do is I sit down on Mondays and I will look at all of the bills that are due for this week. And actually, that's not true. Let me come back. Let me back up for a second because I do sit down on Mondays and I look at the bills. But every month before that month comes in, I'm already writing the due date of the bill. So one of the things is that I use a planner. And this is the Simplified Planner by Emily Lay. And you can use any kind of planner. I've seen budget calendars that are out there. I've seen to-do lists that are out there. Whatever it is, do something that's going to work. Sorry, that's going to work for you. And so as the month is rolling in, what I do is I will take, now I can't show you all my business, but I will take, I'm not even going to show you, but on the other side of this, I've got a column that says what the bill is, the day that is due, and then what the amount is due. Because a lot of times what I will do is I will pay a little bit extra on the bills that I have, especially the ones that are like a car payment, because I want to pay more towards the principal. I'm trying to get myself out of debt, which is why I'm on this wellness journey, and finances is one of the areas. So I am paying attention to what those bills are. I know what my grand total is for the entire month. And then I go to the planner, which is what I just shared here. I go to the planner and then I mark down what those bills are and the due date. So then on Mondays, what I do is I go and I balance my checking account, and I'm showing that this bill is getting ready to come up, making sure that everything. I don't want to be in the black. I want to be in the green, right? I want to make sure. Or is it that you want to be in the black? I just don't want to be in the red. How about that? I don't want to be in the red. So I am looking at those bills every single week to ensure that everything is lining up and matching. And then what I do is if there's extra, then that's where I might move that to another account. But all of my income goes directly into my checking account. And then there's a portion that I take out at the end of each week that goes into my savings account. But then the rest is for all of the bills that are due. And then if I manage to stay under budget, I will take whatever that difference is and then move that over into my savings account. So I'm really excited about where I am financially, even though it doesn't really look like it on paper. I have a better understanding of how to navigate having my credit score, understanding my credit utilization, and while my preference is to be completely out of debt, meaning everything is paid for, I'm just not in that season right now. So if I can at least minimize the usage that I have that allows me to still have buying power, then that's what I'm working through. So one of the things that I did with two personal loans that I have right now is that I'm looking to see how much is actually being paid, because sometimes we don't pay attention to the interest and the principal. I'm telling you, the interest is what's killing us with these minimum monthly payments. We don't want that. So I'm always going to be paying extra, and then I'm timing it to make sure that it is completely applied to that principal, and I'm watching that number dwindle, 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 dwindle. And so this is a journey, and it's not one and done. And so I imagine that this time next year, if this is what I'm supposed to still be doing, I will still be sharing where I am financially, because I have financial goals. I am a woman of a certain age. And while I work in ministry, I don't have a retirement date. I imagine that as I reach a certain age, some of the responsibilities and the things that I'm doing will likely shift, but I still want to make sure that I'm financially sound from now until my resting place. Amen. So I really do enjoy this. I'm a bit of a nerd, and like I said, I will open up my calendar, and then this particular calendar, it has a to-do list, and then you have the full month of where you can like put notes or whatever in, but then you turn and then you can do weekly. So I use all of it. I mean, when I tell you I use the entire journal, I mean the calendar, I use the whole thing. And then one of the things that I like about this particular planner that I'm using is that it gives you little tips. And so the tips for the month of August is: take a look at your bedside table. Is it cluttered? Does it have everything you need to prepare for a restful evening? Be sure you have a lamp, a clock, reading material, and a photo. And consider clearing anything else. So I could tell you right now, if I was to turn this camera and show you what my nightstand looks like, my nightstand to the right is simply just has a lamp on it. The nightstand to the left of me, which is the side of the bed that I typically like to sleep on, even though I'm spread across the whole bed. I'm a single woman, ain't nobody in the bed with me. I'm just saying. So to the left of me, I have my lamp, I have two books, and then I also have a coaster that I'm using to actually put my jewelry on. So I take my earrings off at night, and then I will just sit them on the nightstand. But I also have my Apple Watch that is being charged, my phone is being charged. Now, don't judge me, because I do know that most people say don't have your phone near you because you don't want to run the risk of being distracted while you when you wake up first thing in the morning. So I know all the things. So while my nightstand is not completely cluttered, it doesn't quite look the way the simplicity tip is showing me. And so I think, that might be something that I want to consider, or maybe you want to consider. But either way, I wanted to share that I am doing well financially. I am paying my bills on time. I'm really just focusing on trying to get that utilization down, because what I think sometimes people don't understand is that while you might be making your payments on time, and even if you're paying more than the minimum, if that utilization is more than 30%, it's going to impact your credit score. So there you have it. I'm being accountable. I'm checking in. I'm not quite ready to share any of the details because I've seen some people where they will put the camera on actually how they're writing out. That's not what this this update is about. This is just me really being accountable, sharing my process, sharing an update on my wellness journey. And that wellness journey includes those three areas: my finances, my relationships, and my health. And so now I'm going to move on to the update with my relationships. And so for those of you, again, who have been following me, and those of you who are new, welcome into the conversation where I am navigating, personal relationships with my family members or certain family members, and then also with people that are not my family members. But at the core of all of it is going to be Christ centered. And what I mean by that is that it's my heart, it's my desire, it's my will that I am living my life out of a well or a flow of how Christ wants me to live my life. And in order for me to do that, then I have to have some devotional life. And so I don't think I've really shared too much about how my devotional life works, but I get up in the morning and I'm given the first of my time to being in devotion, whether it's me praying, whether it's me journaling, whether it's me sitting in His presence and listening to music, or whether it's reading a devo, or if it's a combination of all of those things. And then because I only have this one temple, another way of me spending time with God is that I will go and I'll move my body by getting on my treadmill, and I will walk anywhere between 2 to 3 miles. But we'll get to the health part of it. So I don't know that I've ever shared this, but this right here is the current study that I'm doing, Galatians and Ephesians, which is by She Reads Truth. And if you have never heard of them, it's a community of women who are in the Word every single day. And right now, they're doing the Bible study of Galatians and Ephesians. And I just started it just this past Monday. And one of the scriptures that really stuck out to me that I just thought was like, oh, God, help me to not be a people pleaser. Help me to stay focused on serving you. And as I'm serving you, you are getting the glory. And then those who choose to be the reciprocants of, the overflow of how you're using me, that's where the relationships will be mended. That's where the relationships will be developed. That is where the relationships will be restored. That's where the authentic relationships will take place, because I'm going to show up the way you fearfully and wonderfully made me. And I'm not going to be tiptoeing around people conversations, because I'm going to be living with the overflow of what you're pouring into me in my Devo time. So Galatians 1:10 says, for am I now trying to persuade people or God? So just in that moment, I just stopped right there. I was like, okay, God, you're talking to me, because this has been my prayer, to be processing what it's like to, be a people pleaser. That's not what my desire is. I don't want to do that, but I find myself leaning towards trying to please people and not doing what is my assignment or what I feel like I've been called to do. So for am I now trying to persuade people, or am I trying to persuade God? Or am I striving to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. And so as I'm reading through this devotional, it is helping me to actually navigate the relationships that I'm in, and I think I shared a couple of weeks ago that you know, two relationships which are pretty influential. One, I'm on the other side of one. I feel like I am. I feel like I'm on the other side of this one. And but every so often there will be a pain point that comes up or something that happens. So that tells me, like, are you completely, over? Have you completely forgiven? Have you completely, moved on from that situation? And I think the dynamic of the relationship is what keeps a pulse, but I just have to remind myself that while I have forgiven the person or forgiven the situation, that we can still agree to disagree and move on agreeably. I think that's a good way of saying that. So I'm enjoying the study. One of the things that I read this past week, even being reminded that the way that God moves in my life, and I don't know how he moves in yours if you are a believer, but he's going to get the final say. And sometimes we will find ourselves in situations where he's calling us to go back and say to a person or amend in a situation, like, hey, I made a misstep. I spoke wrong. Please forgive me, and then move on. And that freedom that I'm getting as I'm acknowledging the pain that I might be feeling, the frustration that I might be feeling, the disappointment that I'm feeling, all of which is real. It doesn't negate or take away who he is and how he wants to use me. So I thought in this update, I would like to share, like, a part of me being a part of my wellness journey when it comes to my relationships is it's Christ centered. It has to be Christ centered. There's no other way around that. Now, for those of you who are new, or for those of you who have been looking at the shorts, I am doing a 28-day prayer journey where I'm praying in the morning, I'm praying in the afternoon, and I'm praying in the evening. And then I'm posting that on my YouTube channel, which is Lachey Johnson. You can't miss me, the girl with the gray hair, because there are other Lachays that are on there. And then I'm taking that short and then I'm forwarding it, or I'm posting it rather, to my Instagram story. And then I'm also posting it on my Instagram, like, main grid account, as well as my Facebook. So there's a couple different ways that you can engage with me during these 28 days. Today happens to be day 10, and I've already done the morning and I've done midday, but I'll be back to do the actual evening part of it. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Lachey109. And if you want to request to be friends with me on Facebook, which really you don't even have to be friends because my postings are public, it's Lachey Johnson. So either way, there's a way for you to connect with the content that I'm sharing, the encouragement that I'm sharing. But more importantly, the why behind it is me creating community and also having some accountability. So every week I check in on Mondays at 12 noon, releasing a YouTube video, which you're watching right now, to let folks know, like, this is where I am with my money, my coins, ching ching. This is where I'm at with my relationships, and this is where I'm at with my health. And then every so often I will mix in where I also have a podcast, the Lachey Johnson podcast, where sometimes you just get to sit down from me, and then other times you will get people that I invite to join me in the conversation. Last month, the month of July, we focused on moms who had sons. And there was a sit down with me, and then there was a sit down with me, and then two other women who are moms of two boys. Each of them have two boys. What a phenomenal conversation. I highly encourage you to go and check it out. It's on Apple and it's on Spotify, but you can also see the actual conversation in the video form on my YouTube channel. So I've talked about my money and I've talked about my relationships, which I shared that it's Christ-centered, which helps me to flow out of how God has created me. And this is the 28-day prayer that I'm following, not completely page by page, but I'm using this book right now for my own personal journey. And this was written by Crystal Evans Hurst. And it's really great. If you don't have a copy of this, I really encourage you to. And maybe find your own people to do the 28 days with. Okay, so the last piece is my health. And I've been very intentional, and I actually have some tissue here. So I'm hoping that I don't start crying. I hope I don't start crying. Um, for the last part of my update is my health. So I'm a big journaler. I love, 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 love to journal. And so I've got journals in my bags that I take to work with me. I have journals on my nightstand. I mean, I got journals all over. I mean, I was a school teacher. I don't think I've ever shared that here. I was a school teacher, school administrator. So I just love me a good piece of paper and pen. Just love it. So this right now is the journal that I'm using. And I just picked it up from actually Ross's, and there were a couple of them that had different covers on them. It's just a notebook. I'm not getting fancy with it because again, I got a bunch all over the place. But this one on the cover, it says faith. And so as I've been sharing my health, I've been talking about how in March I went to a doctor's appointment that sent me to several other appointments. So much so, my primary doctor was making a recommendation for me to go to another doctor. And I said, no, I need a minute. Give me a chance to course correct whatever it is that you are thinking is happening. I just can't go to another doctor. And so, with that, as of today, I've lost 10 pounds. Now, I don't see it. Other people are seeing it. I think that, the way that our weight is distributed is just interesting, just the face, the neck, the arms, just all the things. And so nobody shaming here. I absolutely love my body. And I am just being more conscious of what I'm eating, how much I'm eating. But more importantly, I've been drinking my water. I have been getting rest, and I have been moving my body. And I'm journaling all of the things that I'm eating, as well as when I don't feel like eating a more healthier choice, like what is the state of mind that I'm in. So I do find that sometimes that happens. But believe it or not, most of my overeating is when I'm just really excited and happy. So I don't know what that is. Now, here's the piece that I have not been sharing, or at least I have been kind of tiptoeing around, is that after my um, physical and the cardiologist and the blood work and all the things, it was time for me to go and have my annual mammogram. And so I am very proactive. I believe in not being reactive when it comes to your health. So I had my annual mammogram several weeks ago, and this has never happened to me before. And so I'm being very vulnerable because I feel like I'm building a community here where I was not ready to share like all of the details. And so I want to say that I had my annual mammogram, and because my breasts are dense, for women who are out there who know what it's like to go for a mammogram, I get 3D mammograms, and I've been getting 3D mammograms. And every year I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Well, this year I was called back, and I got the call the following day, and I just had to sit in it for a moment because the next appointment for them to recheck one of my breasts was going to be about 2 weeks. Well, here's the thing. Let me just get to it because you're probably waiting to hear this. Everything is good. Praise be unto God. What I what I discovered in that time of waiting was that I want to make sure that I'm living every day intentionally. I want to make sure that I'm having conversations that matter. I want to be more intentional about who I spend my time with, how much of that time I'm spending with folks. I'm thinking about my son getting ready to leave for college and how I can stay engaged with him without being overwhelming to him as he goes off into his life. I think about my daughter who is back in school now, and when I got called back, I didn't want to talk about it with anyone, and I didn't, but the Lord, right? But what I found was that having that community was something that I could have tapped into, and I didn't because I just didn't want to talk about it. And sometimes that happens. You know, I could remember being a volunteer who was asked to lead a cancer support group, and I remember people who were like recently diagnosed who knew they wanted to be in community, but they just weren't ready to talk about it. Well, here I am not knowing anything, and I just didn't want to talk about it. And now that I do know that everything is good and everything is clear, there's just this part of me that feels like other people need to hear, like, don't have to go alone through a time that quite honestly just feels a little scary, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not a believer. It doesn't mean that I don't trust God. It doesn't mean that I don't believe that God knew that experience would happen to me, because he is my maker, he is my creator. He knew me when I was in my mother's womb. He already knew the end from the beginning. So he knew that these last few months, these last few weeks, that I would have this experience. And so I'm coming out of that experience feeling a little bit more surrendered to my call, um, not hesitating to say yes when I'm invited to do something that is going to bring honor and glory to God, to the kingdom, to his people. And this is a part of that. So, me being on YouTube, me using social media, me not being completely buttoned up, like I'm just really stepping out and I'm sharing my life. And I don't know, quite honestly, where this train is headed. I'm just taking it moment by moment. And in this moment, I thought I was ready to share with the community what I had been dealing with health wise over the last several months and feeling victorious coming out. I went to the Lord, I prayed, and I surrendered. And I said, God, let your will be done. I trust you. And no matter what the outcome is going to be, I still know that you are God, and you're a God that sees, you're a God that knows, and you're a God that can heal. So I settled my heart in that. So let me just share what happened. I go back to the appointment. The young lady, she takes the images, but they had already also scheduled for me to then have an ultrasound if needed once the radiologist looked at the images. So they send me back into the waiting room. I go and I sit in the waiting room, and I'm resting. I am resting in the assurance that God is with me. I'm resting in the assurance that God is the cloud by day and the fire by night. He is covering me front, back, top, bottom. I am resting in that. And so I hear footsteps coming towards where I'm sitting at, and then the curtain opens up, and the young lady goes, "You're good. Just continue with your annual mammograms." And then I sit there, and while I was taking it in, it just still felt like, oh, I just wish she was a little bit more sensitive to the fact that I've been waiting for 2 weeks. And while it may have appeared that I was exhaling over those 2 weeks, that was a lot for me to take in, even though it was a positive response in that moment. And so, the cultural sensitivity in our medical field right now, I don't have any answers for that. But what I do know is that I shared my voice and I let them know that, I would have wanted them to care for me just a little bit differently, knowing that it had been 2 weeks, not knowing that this is like customary, because by the time I talked with the business office who called me back from the feedback that I gave, she said, well, yeah, typically that's the time. Sometimes it's about 6 weeks. And I said, wow, you make a person sit that long not knowing if there may be something going on in their body. And I'm going to be honest. I think that wait time, thank you, Father. Ooh, I'm not going to cry. I think that wait time was so that I could spend time with the Lord and let him speak to me and let him comfort my heart, knowing that he was with me. And that's exactly what I did. So that's where we are. I will continue to talk about my health because me and this food journey, like I lost a half a pound this past week. I have no idea how that is happening outside of the fact that I am moving my body every single day, but I also know what I've been eating. So it felt like it was like kind of counteracting what I ate and then be working out. So anyway, I lost a half a pound. I am down a little bit over 10 pounds. And I'm going to continue the journey because it's bigger than weight loss. This is me making a conscious choice and effort to live the life that God said is mine to live. And I'll close out with this. Yesterday I was with some friends and one of them was talking about a functional medicine doctor. Never heard of that before, but the conversation was so good because they were talking about how a functional medicine doctor understands how certain foods and medicines and all the things can interact with your body. And then as you grow, things that you used to couldn't eat or could eat, vice versa, like all of this stuff that's making up a diagnosis for you. That really, I just walked away and I said, I just need to ask more questions. And I'm going to trust that the Holy Spirit is going to prompt me to know what question to ask so that I can live the life that God has intended for me to live. So, again, I'm Lachey Johnson. If this is your first time with me, I'm so glad you stayed until the end. If you enjoyed the content that you just heard, subscribe to my channel, like the video, leave me a comment, and let me know what other kind of information or content you would like for me to share. Because sometimes it's not so serious. I may have some fun and foolery with me going out to the store, which for those who have been around, they know I love Costco, and me and Costco just have a bit of a love affair. And so, yeah. But thank you so much for staying to the end of this video, and I will see you all next week. Peace.